Hello, gorgeous people. It is your happiness matrix trainer, speaker, Trudy Global Sparkles here. It's just ticked over to 12. So let's get started, shall we? If you remember, if you're watching the replay, just do hashtag replay and post questions, and I will definitely come back and answer some questions. So just quickly as a bit of an introduction, human beings, everyone I talk to, and I know within myself, everyone wants to be happy, but we are still programmed, and the older we get, the more predominant this is, we are still programmed to focus on the negative. We develop a consequence bias the older we get, and we're driven by our hindbrain, which is always looking through a filter of fear, doubt, danger, suspicion, uncertainty, and boredom. So is it any wonder that as we get older, happiness can start to feel harder to find? And this is what I'm going to talk to you about when I share the happiness matrix, is that while coaching is good, after 10 years in the industry, 10 plus years, and I'll share a bit of my story just really quickly so you get a bit of a feel more for who I am. I really feel like the coaching industry is still missing the mark. And there's a lot of people out there who are suffering needlessly when they don't need to, obviously, because it's needlessly. Anyway, now I'm just talking this through. I've got, like, this is my notes for today. I'm just sharing this from the heart. So that's why I went live. There's no slides or anything. So for me, as I said, for 10 plus years, I've been studying coaching modalities, how the human body works, all the different kinds of processes and energy work and healing and all of the things. And what I've realized, especially after last year, and bringing in that spiritual law and spiritual practice as a foundation for my life and living, that the coaching industry was missing the mark. So my background, for me, I spent a lot of years being depressed. That became my identity. A lot of self-harming, suicide. Like, I was miserable, right? Let's be honest. I was miserable. And a lot of that was really self-imposed because I didn't understand how to bring together everything and be happy. We don't get taught how to be happy, and people learn to fight for their limitations. So I want to share with you, like I said, I just wanted to really, with this, I know I said it's like a webinar, but it's more like, let's just chill out in happiness, simplified happiness group. I wanted to share this with you. So this is what I've been bringing together for everyone. It's my little matrix. So as you can see, there's you in the middle, but there's the 4 sort of core elements now that I've been working with clients and on myself to really fast track happiness, to decide that I am healed and whole, and that is allowing me now to focus on moving forward rather than constantly traveling back into my past and filtering everything through pain. Now, as you can see here, there's the 4 different elements. So we have the mind. So your mind has all your memories, your beliefs, your values. That's where your judgment sits. That's where you take your logical action. Then over here, we have our physical body, which is something that many coaching modalities don't address. So there you've got your nervous system, how your neural pathways are formed, how you're creating habits, your cellular set point, and your cells are what creates sabotage in your life. Then we have emotions, so guilt, shame, fear. Hi, Susie. We also have happiness, joy, celebration. But, as we get more negatively wired as we get older, and we're constantly looking for the consequence, the joy and the celebration has to become a lot more focused to actually experience. And then here was for me the missing part, which is our foundations, which is our vibration, our frequency, you know, all that metaphysical, spiritual law kind of stuff. So what I've realized in my own quest for happiness, in my own quest to leave behind, you know, a good 30 years of conditioning of teaching myself to be unhappy. And I taught myself to be unhappy. We teach ourselves these things. We're a clean slate as babies, and life teaches us, and then we integrate the lesson, and then we keep teaching ourselves. And I taught myself to be a victim. But what I found in all of this is, I won't say none, but there's not a lot of people who are actually working with all of these components. And the foundation is missing from pretty much 90% of the coaching training that I've done, or might just touch on it a little bit. We've ended up in a space with help that is so focused on process, that there's a lack of time for real integration. Now, I want to highlight here, when the people that this is sort of really directed at, you know, people that have had deep trauma. I'm not saying you don't get coaching and you don't get help. Of course you do. I've experienced deep trauma. You name it, I've probably lived it. But here's the thing. We get stuck in the healing. We get stuck in, I'm still broken. I've got to go back. I've got to go look for more issues and more problems because I need to do more healing, because we're operating on a foundation that we are not whole, that we are broken, that there is something wrong with us because of what we experienced growing up. And so we're on this never-ending quest for healing, and we never get to that point where we can say that we're whole, right? So this is ultimately, you know, happiness is, you know, feeling whole and complete within yourself and learning how to love life. Now, with the matrix, I've attempted to do a little color thing so you can actually see how these things really do all stick together. Sorry about that. I'm a little, there we go. So that's you in the middle. So you can see that your physical and your emotions are connected, really connected. Your vibration is affected by your emotions, which then affects your physical responses. So you can see by looking at this, everything is actually intertwined and so much more interconnected than somebody coming here and going, all right, let's work on your values and change your values or change some beliefs, because you change those beliefs. But if they're not supported in the physical, that will then bring back the emotional. And what's missing for so many people is the foundation. Now, we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm going to talk through these things in a little bit more detail, but I really wanted you to sort of get an overall big picture of how this all looks. So if anyone who's done Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've got your food and your stuff, and you elevate up to this spiritual being, right? Here's my little thing, sort of traditional coaching, right? Traditional, we start with the problem, we work on your mind, we might look at emotions, we go through a process, and we change a belief, right? Awesome. But that's not addressing all of the other things, like your physical body, a physical response, the metaphysical foundational stuff, that if you have that, everything else can build off that. So when I work with people now, I work with the problem. What's the problem? We look at your foundations. What are your beliefs? Are you at cause? Are you still at effect? What spiritual practices need to come in? Then we look at your mind and your emotion, how the physical is responding. We tie that back into your foundations and we create change. Now, there's processes and everything in there as well. But how many coaches are working on that deep a level? Because that's where the lasting change will really come from. So let's talk about these a little bit more. And if you've got any questions, sorry, this isn't, is that scrolled up? Yep, no, if you've got any questions, please ask. Because once you get to, you've got to get to a point in your healing, right, where you go, all right, this particular event, cool, I'm good, I'm recovered, excellent. And this is, especially when you've had a lot of trauma. But when do you know that you're healed? When do you decide, okay, cool, I've revisited that enough. All right, the past is the past. When do you decide to move forward and that you are whole? The sooner you embrace a more spiritual practice and a more spiritual foundation in there, and the belief that regardless of what has happened to you, that you are whole, that you are perfect, spiritual practice, whether you believe in God or whether you believe in the universe sort of as source energy, like you are a perfect child of God. Like you are. Like you then learn how to allow in the happiness. So let's get back to this before I go on a spiritual law rant. So let's have a look at the physical, right? So you've got your nervous system, your cellular set point, you've got your neural pathways. This is your body. You exist in your body. Now your cellular set point, this is all the cells in your body. The easiest way to explain your cells is they eat the emotion as they divide. So whatever emotion you're feeling, the strongest emotion, that's what they're being fed as your cells divide, because your cells multiply, they divide. That's how you stay a human being, right? So if you're constantly in this space of anger, shame, fear, guilt, depression, or whatever, that's the predominant emotion that you're feeling. Your physical body is being fed this. So if you're not aware of how you're feeding your physical body and how your cells actually work, because if your cells don't get the emotional food that they were being fed when they divided, your cells will sabotage you to create an experience so they get fed. So if you're not consciously aware of that and slowly building up your set point, this is where things are going to go really up and down for you. Things go great, things will sabotage, things will be good, things will sabotage again, right? So you need to actually understand how your physical body is impacting your happiness and how you can feed it in a way that will allow your set point to grow and to expand. Because the goal is, if you've always been depressed, miserable, and unhappy, is to get to a tipping point that the sad cells are overwhelmed by happy cells. That's not an overnight thing, but that's something that you can work on, right? And understanding how your cells and your nervous system works, that's a key part of happiness that not a lot of coaches are teaching. And then when you look at your mind, right? So that's the next thing, right? Your beliefs, your memories, your values, that's where your judgment sits. Judgment can also sit in emotions as well. Most coaches are working with that. And then as a side hit, you then get the emotional part coming in. So we have very strong beliefs. So we need to learn how to shift those beliefs if those beliefs are no longer serving us. But if you understand how neural pathways are formed, so you see how you're going back to the physical and how to physically change a habit and physically change your thinking, of course, changing your beliefs and shifting your values and everything is going to be a lot easier. So then you can shift out of your past into your present thinking and start creating consciously the life that you want through your spiritual foundations, through metaphysics, through vibration and frequency, which all ties in. Now, as human beings, we're driven by emotion. But what happens if you actually fully understand the emotional drive from your physical body and how all of your nervous system and how all of this intertwines, then suddenly, sorry, coaching industry, but it's not just about going and getting and I'm an NLP master practitioner, right? So I was teaching and training and coaching with NLP for years. it's not just about going and getting a belief change done and expecting that everything is fixed. Because if you're not doing the foundational work and you're not doing the physical work, changing something in your mind through a single process, it's not enough unless you are really, really fine-tuned and really, really ready to hang on to that new belief. So this is where I get really frustrated with the coaching industry, because I spent 10 years investing and having tiny, tiny little wins, but wins that didn't stick. And this is what the happiness matrix is about. It's getting the wins that stick, because as the wins start to stick, this is where you can then go, okay, I'm whole, I'm human. And you can actually really feel that and own that. And you'll understand that if you have a little slip back to starting to think something that's not serving, it's just a neural pathway in your mind that's been so used and so thought through and so thought on so often, you've just slipped back to that. Okay, consciously change that. Use your foundations of spiritual law. Am I at cause here? Am I at effect? And consciously change your life, knowing foundationally that whole time you are whole, you are complete, you are perfect. Your happiness becomes a lot easier to embrace. And then it becomes second nature. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't have days that sometimes suck and, shit happens. And of course, we don't live in a perfect world where everything just works perfectly. We still are in this 3D plane having a human experience. But you can shift out of it quicker. You can elevate yourself faster. You can move out of that quicker. So this is where like I said, of course, there's always going to be exceptions, right? There's always going to be, high levels of trauma. You don't necessarily just heal from that overnight. Or is that a belief, right? So this is where, when bad things happen, you can start to challenge that when you understand how your body, your mind, emotions, and your foundations are working for you. What was I going to say? There was something else I had that I didn't put on my notes. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about emotions, right? So I've got guilt, shame, and fear on here. And I haven't got them here with me. But if you're finding that, and I actually shared this in the group already, but if you're finding that your emotions need support to be managed and moved through, you ask yourself your questions. What is the meaning of this? Because we're meaning-making machines as humans, and so we put meaning on whatever we're feeling, right? So we give it a meaning, and we give it just whatever the meaning is we're giving it in that moment. That's okay. So if you're feeling guilty about something, what is the meaning of this guilt? It's like, I haven't done the right thing. Okay. Then you want to know, where is the feeling? Well, I've got this knot in my stomach, right? So you want to disassociate from it and start looking, okay, well, it's a physical sensation in the body. It's not in the stomach. How is my breath and body? Like, are you tensing up? Because when you're stressed, when you're feeling guilty, when you're angry, when you're upset, how many of us hold our breath and tense up, right? But that's triggering in your brain your freeze, flight, or fight response. And your body is thinking, oh my gosh, we're under threat, just because you're having a certain feeling. So how's my breath and body? How do I want to feel instead? When you ask yourself, how's my breath and body, automatically you will release any tension. How do you want to feel instead? So this is really important, because then this allows you to start consciously feeding your cells, calm down your nervous system. It also allows you to take charge of the emotions. It allows you to make a conscious choice around what it is that you want to feel. And then the final question is, what action am I taking now to support the new feeling and emotion? So that's my little tip for managing the emotions there. I could get ranty. Part of me really, really wants to get ranty, because I look at all of the money I spent learning coaching, which is good. I'm glad I learned it, but being coached and expecting that the next process, the next healing, the next thing was going to be that thing that gave me complete happiness. And as a coach who's bought a lot of coach training, I get a little mad because I feel like sometimes I've been a little ripped off, or like just not being sold the full suite. So we're human beings. We have a physical body, we have mental, we have emotional. We have the opportunity to really embrace metaphysics as a foundation, because that foundation energetically in the universe, whether you believe in God, source energy, or nothing, and just follow these rules, follow these laws, they will change your life when you embrace all of that. So this is just a little quick one today. If you have any questions, I know someone's still watching, but I'm not sure who. Post in the comments. You know, when I work with values, I work with shadow values, not just the golden values, because the golden values are really fluffy. Shadow values are values that we're taught to repress and to feel shame and guilt and embarrassment about, and feel bad for desiring. You know, vibration and frequency, you know, from our foundational things. Science has proven what the spiritual people believed the whole time, that, you know, we send out a vibration. Like, all our cells are vibrating, right? Every cell is vibrating, and that sends out a frequency. That's the emotion, right? So this is once again how your cells, your physical form, impacts another component of the happiness matrix. So our frequency is being sent out. And this is another reason why it's really important to consistently, steadily work on changing your cellular set point, because that's what you're attracting back, right? Now I look back now, knowing what I know now, and going, well, is it any wonder I had so many bad relationships and so many bad experiences and so much trauma? Because I was vibrating at that level and I kept attracting it. And I tell you what, it was a really tough pill to swallow, to go, I created this life myself, you know, but I created it because I didn't know any differently. So if you want to raise your set point, raise your vibration, calm your nervous system, you know, create new neural pathways, which creates new habits for happiness, you can do it. Now, if you have any questions, post them in the comments for me, because I'm happy to give you the answers that you need. And of course, you know, if you want to work with me on this stuff, like I do one-on-one, I'm looking at alignment, which launches in about 3 weeks, if I pull my thumb out and get this launch happening. But alignment, that starts in 3 weeks. That'll be a group program. So if you're the kind of person that likes to grow and expand and learn with other people around them for support, that's it'll have recorded modules and live calls every week with me for 8 weeks. Alignment is for you. If you're a one-on-one person and, you know, maybe your unhappiness goes a little bit deeper than just sort of general dissatisfaction with life, we can do one-on-one as well. All you need to do, actually, I'll post a link in the comments here if you want to book in a quick 15-minute chat and just have a chat about, you know, where you're at and what you need. More than happy to have a conversation. Or you can just private message me, whatever. You know, I'm pretty chilled these days. Maybe I'm a little bit too chilled. But I think it's really important that we start going, what do I want? What do I need? What do I desire? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Because, you know, we get caught on the roller coaster ride of like, oh, but I have to do this, I have to do that. But when you embrace your happiness, your fulfillment, like, you can't help but live to purpose, and that's what matters. Why live an unhappy life just because that's what you think you have to do? So anyway, I'm going to finish up for now. Post your questions. Let me know what caught your eye in this, what stood out for you. if you need any further help, what you want to know more about. And yeah, I look forward to showing up more in the group. So tell me what you need. Tell me what you desire. Tell me what brought you here. And tell me where you think there's gaps for you in this matrix. Hold it up again. Where there's gaps for you in this matrix that you need support with. And it could be, you know, I might create a little mini training for you. I do have the Ditch the Imposter Voice Challenge, which covers off all of this. That's a $97 mini course. Pop the link in here for you that as well, which covers off all of those elements for you, which is enough for some of you to really get you started and moving along on this process. Because after so many years of being miserable and attempting to fit myself in a mold and sacrificing my own way forward, attempting to be a good person and do the right thing, it doesn't need to be like that. And we all deserve happiness. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.